What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast for the week of March 1st through the 7th of 2021. Brian here, Fixed Air Moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. I truly appreciate you for joining me. If you have not, please do become a member on the site for daily and weekly sun and rising horoscopes, as well as a tarot show and a great community to hang out with. Well, big, week in the astrology. We're going to see a big ingress with Mars. Mars has been in Taurus for the last 2 months. Going nice and slow there, just creaking on through. Definitely has that stuck in the mud feeling when we're in fixed earth in Taurus and our drive and ambition and that warrior spirit within us. So I would say that's a big deal this week is coming into Gemini. It's definitely more free flowing. It's like act on your feet energy. It's quick. It's like when information comes, like you can act on it. You can make these big decisions quick, fast, in a hurry. So it gives us sort of this really energetic, sort of airy vibe where we're not so weighed down. We're not feeling so much sluggish energy, but there is this like willingness to change. If we need to change a hat, drop something to go somewhere else, we can do that. There's a lot that can morph. There's a lot of morphing that can go on with Gemini, especially with Mars there. So it's going to give us a lot of energy. It's definitely bringing some more electricity into the astrology. And I think it's going to be, exciting to say the least. It kind of feels like we've been slugging through some, quicksand or mud, if you will, with that Mars in Taurus. We're also going to see Venus sextile Uranus in Taurus. Venus is exalted, running, just calling all the shots here of the whole chart, outscoring Saturn in dignities, exalted here in Pisces. So that's pretty nice, and it's a nice aspect to Uranus as well. We're going to see the sun square these lunar nodes. The lunar nodes are going to be at 15 degrees of Gemini with the north node and the south node at 15 degrees of Sagittarius. We're going to see that sun at 15 degrees of Pisces square these two. Not only is it squaring the nodes, but it's the exact time that we're having our third quarter square of the moon. 15 degrees Sagittarius on that south node. So definitely, this is a big week. This is kind of a fate train week, kind of a destined week, and it's going to give us the ability to change things up. And as we are getting ready to close out the last quarter of this new moon in Aquarius, we're really getting ready to enter a new moon in Pisces, but there's something about Pisces and having a new moon there in this 12th sign as we come into spring after Pisces, which we're halfway there after this week, to that spring and that Aries season. It's almost like it's a bigger cycle that's closing as we start a new cycle within it. So it's kind of an interesting energy. I'm going to pull up the chart here and we're going to take a little trip. Hope you're all doing well. Well, this is the chart for Monday. And, this is already passed, of course. This is Monday evening that I'm dropping this. Today was an interesting day because there was this grand trine in the chart with the moon here in Libra. Relationships were heavily brought up today, and also the people in our lives and communication. We look at the north node at 15, the moon at 15 Libra, and the midpoint of Jupiter and Mercury at 15 degrees too, all in this harmonious, if you will, aspect on a moon day with the moon. So it definitely could have been a very positive Monday in terms of, some sort of intellectual understanding of even our emotions or how to understand people better. We are in Pisces season, so there's a compassion out there that I think that we're trying to find and sort of, complete cycles and see that people are completing things in their life, and how do we connect to that energy and have that wholesome sort of, there's a beauty to Pisces, and it's a wholesome beauty and a very, spiritual beauty. So what's interesting too is that we have Juno and the lot of Eros conjunct at 19 degrees. It's very interesting for relationships, Juno being the goddess of goddesses and Eros being the son of Aphrodite or Venus, which is very passionate, very sexual. It is that sort of, true love story, and it even is a heart with an arrow going through it. So very Cupid-like energy almost. Squaring Neptune. So it's a very interesting day where it's like understanding a lot of information or the bigger picture about people in our life, and is there a stimulating sort of connection? Do we feel twin-like energy from the people in our life, from the relationships in our life? As well as, are we really in like divine unions if we're in relationships, or if we're just starting to see things? Are we starting to see, are we under some spell here? Neptune squaring is kind of an interesting aspect. Like, are we delusional into thinking that we're in that perfect love story, or that there is this sort of, amazing beauty in our relationships or groups or friendships? Is it? So that's something that's going to be going on this week too. So I think there's definitely, it absolutely can be with Neptune there. It could be the most beautiful, dreamy relationship or scenario that's going on, the amazing love story, especially with these in Sagittarius. And, I would say that especially Monday, there was a lot of insight to it. So you kind of want to trust that intellect, because Mercury's really starting to pick up the pace here at 14 coming to 15 degrees to really trine for the third time over to that north node, which, of course, Gemini, the dispositor for that north node, is Mercury. So it's a big deal. I think there's a lot of electricity. I think the brain's firing quick, and it was sort of a day to, get to the bottom emotionally, as we're having Venus in Pisces make a sextile to Uranus, which is definitely electric in its own right when it comes to relationships. And we're getting that as this interesting aspect with Neptune of like definitely trying to step into the right love stories, but not be spelled into the wrong ones. Very interesting. And Mars, of course, at 28 degrees, getting really close here on Wednesday, going to ingress into Gemini. So let's jump over to what we got going on Tuesday. Mars at 29 degrees, super edgy. Like, this is where you could really feel stuck, or really feel like tired or drained, or maybe not feeling like like you found the confidence or the self-worth that you were looking for over the last couple months. Well, it's going to end. We're going to get through it. On the bright side, that 29 degree Mars is trining Bitcoin's Jupiter at 29 Capricorn. So if you're into cryptocurrency, I would say that's pretty positive, as well as the Sun and Venus getting ready to, on March 20th, make a sextile to that Jupiter. And so just a little Bitcoin news there. Maybe I'll pull up the chart of that when we finish out here. We'll see how I'm feeling. We do have Pluto. I think we got to talk about Pluto at 26 degrees, because this is something none of us have ever seen here before. So it's definitely new, uncharted territory of this 26 degree of Capricorn. And it's interesting. It's going to retrograde here. Venus is going to retrograde again this year at 26 degrees Capricorn as well in December. I think it's on December 20th or 21st. So like right around a year after we had that Jupiter-Saturn conjunction at 0 Aquarius, a year almost to the date, I think it is right to the date, is right there. And I could look. Let's see when Venus is going to retrograde. Venus will retrograde December 19th. So yeah, 2 days off from that full year. So very interesting. I think this 26 degree is going to play a big part. So, we're starting to see that. I think you could just see structures, whether it's monetary, a lot of Capricorn energy stuff, governments, politics, monetary systems. Like, there's just like things going on. Everything seems a little weird. Everything feels a little off. And there's definitely like this reboot here, because we got to remember that America's Pluto is at 27 degrees, so we are just 1 degree away from a 248-year cycle of America hitting, and it's very regenerative and transformative. So we're starting to maybe get little bits of, more of that taste. I think we already saw it. I think last year was a big push into that, and we're starting to see that more with this Pluto at 26 degrees. So that's something to, keep in mind, I would say. We're going to see that moon finish up in Libra on Tuesday. And, of course, it's going to quincunx that Mars at 29 degrees. So definitely a little edgy when it comes to, our own beauty, our own self-worth, and understanding sort of what we want to manifest and create and kind of bring to life without feeling too stuck emotionally. It's a quick transit, but it could definitely bring some effects of like not seeing the beauty or the confidence in this sort of reality, or not being able to understand where other people are at, because maybe, you're too focused on the stuff that you can't get done. So there are these aspects that, could be hard. I think there's ultimately like finding compassion for the self and other is so Pisces season. And we're going to have that sun at 12 degrees of Pisces on Nessus. So Nessus is an interesting one, right? Centaur who sought revenge on Hercules, having to face deep pain and make choices as a result, or while under the influence of this pain, what one thinks is the monster within and what one does because of it. So yeah, definitely shadow type energy. Might be getting exposed or might be coming out within ourselves, or learning how to see compassion for people who are getting exposed and like not just cancel them. We live in such a canceled out culture right now that, if people don't have the same belief system, which is very South Node in Sag, or the same like has to be this way, they get canceled, and maybe we see some shadow come out from that on this Tuesday. It's interesting. It is basically squaring. It's within a 3-degree orb, of course, so there's interesting aspects there as well. But that moon's going to come into fall position in Scorpio on Tuesday, and I would say that moon in Libra was ultimately trying to show us a lot of beauty. It made a lot of nice aspects. It does finish off with, of course, that in conjunct or quincunx over to Mars in the 2 Venus-ruled signs, with Venus, of course, exalted in Pisces. So I think that, when it comes to the beauty and the creative and the passion, all that can really come to play if you're, in a place where you can still feel confident, even when things have been moving slow with Mars there. And then Venus at 6 degrees is 1 degree away from the sextile to Uranus. So we're really starting to feel electricity when it comes to our relationships. And we're seeing that Juno and Eros conjunction exactly square off with Neptune. So it's like you're either in the electric, dreamy relationship that you've always wanted to be in, that was like karmically meant for you in this time coming off that South Node, or you are in the opposite version of that. And that's where you have to discern for yourself. And that's the one thing Neptune brings up, I think, is, can you use your own discernment from within to see through illusions that maybe you're trying to convince yourself is the dream or is where you want to go? Is it really? And again, that's definitely not my place to say if it is or not. So you have to figure that one out on your own. And I'm sure you will do that. As we come into Wednesday, that moon's going to be locked and loaded here in Scorpio. So it is fall position. It's got to go through a lot in Scorpio. It's going to square Saturn. This is at 12:30, so 6 back, 8. Yeah, right when it, right about when Tuesday starts, at least, or Wednesday starts on the West Coast, we're getting that moon square Saturn. So it kind of sets the tone for Wednesday, which is an interesting day too, because this evening is when Mars is going to ingress into Gemini. But first we got to deal with some darker aspects of our life and, kind of get to the bottom of it. It can be very intuitive. I think you can definitely be tapped into things in life that you want to go deeper, whether it's just investigating further into what you believe the truth is, or, connecting to your, occult information. I think there is a lot that the moon can do very well at fall position in Scorpio, but it can also get a little obsessive over holding on to all these emotions that maybe are just attached to physical things. And that's where the moon in Scorpio sometimes has to learn to let go. Squaring Saturn's never easy. That can feel very restrictive. And then after that, it's got to square off with Mercury and Jupiter, and they're about to conjunct. So there's this big picture, small picture that's getting hit, about trying to show this whole broad spectrum of the collective and where these insights and ideals are going. And they're just hitting the moon dead in the face on Wednesday. Wednesday is going to be an intense day, to say the least. Just emotionally with the moon there, it is going to quincunx that north node. Definitely not easy energy. And then Uranus is sextile Venus here, so that's some more and Saturn and Uranus are still only a degree apart, so there is sort of that really shaken up reality that we're feeling. And I'd say Venus, sextile Uranus it's not bad, but it's you're gonna get these flashes of insight into the right connections, the right things to do with your money, but there's also, with this Venus in Pisces, are you just dreaming up sort of crazy out there, insights, or are they real? So there is this sense of trying to find some way to ground this Uranus energy in that Taurus by really bringing it back to what makes you feel confident, what makes you feel like you can create. But if you need to switch things up and bring some of that very dreamy, beautiful insight bring that, create, but you got to kind of make it real, or else it's not going to have that ground. So try to bring that into your reality and see that ultimate beauty on Wednesday. And we'll go Mars into Gemini, which is going to be at 7:29 p.m. on the West Coast. Mars in Gemini. Definitely, this is fast-moving energy, and it's going to be intense, and it has to go through a lot. Sort of here, it's going to, make really nice aspects to Saturn and Jupiter. It'll hit Jupiter on the retrograde after it comes back from Pisces, but it's definitely interesting. It's got a, quincunx Pluto at the end, and it's got to cross over the North Node, and I think that actually gives a lot of good energy to the North Node. The malefics tend to like the North Node better than the benefics. The benefics tend to like the South Node better. A little bit more comfortable energy where, this is going to make a big difference for our environments. I think we're going to be quick on our feet when it comes to making action take place in your environment. If you need to switch the hat up and pivot. And I think that that's an important time that we're coming into is I think we're going to see with this Mars and Gemini more choices, and we're going to have to be able to decipher, make a decision on these choices. And it's got to be quick. So it's not like Libra, where Libra can weigh out and want to see where everything, find the perfect balance. Gemini's just no, all over the place. So it's definitely exciting. And how are we going to use that excitement to kind of get further, to use that electricity to move? And I think the best thing about all this mutable energy that's in the chart is we have to make the right changes in our environment spiritually, especially with the sun about to square these nodes on Friday. There's, things that have to switch up, and we are finishing out this Aquarius new moon cycle, there was so much Aquarius, 6 planets, 7 if you count Chariklo, which is an asteroid, of course, but a lot of energy there. And I think, when it comes to Aquarius, we're trying to understand so much and figure so much out, and it's good because we always do in Aquarius. We're gonna find the best way forward, but there's little changes I think that we have to, tune into spiritually as we're closing out this Pisces season, coming up into Aries season, where the real, all the dreams in Pisces season come to life in Aries season. And it is by these cycles, and that's kind of how these yearly cycles work. So how are you dealing with that? And how are you going to deal with this Mars and Gemini? It's quick. So the quicker you can react, the better it's going to go. Thursday, we're going to be a day away from that sun squaring the nodes, which is absolutely intense. That's a spiritual, which we're probably going to start to feel on Thursday, is there are big decisions that need to be made to have this spiritual faded moment in your life of going into, this dream in your environment and making that reality, and sort of imagining beauty, a lot of it. And, also with facts, you got to think we want to go towards the North Node. So we have to be able to switch things up. We have to be able to take in new information. The more we just fall into the belief and having things all figured out, are we going to reach some sort of completion spiritually of where we're at right now? So I think there's definitely a fate train, sort of moment here, Thursday, Friday, where, especially as the moon's coming out of Scorpio on Thursday, it's going to sextile that Pluto. There's major transformation taking place, and it's taking place in all aspects, whether it's sort of this concrete structure of your life, or even just the world on a bigger picture. But it's also deeper than that. It's there are major things changing within our emotional body, especially as that moon in Scorpio, it opposes Uranus on Wednesday, as well as Mars, gets ready to come into Gemini. There's a lot of electricity, a lot of sort of deep dive into transformative energies. And are you investigating the life that you feel intimately connected to and passionate and intense to move forward for? Or is it just some old story that, I think that's what's up. It's it's new and exciting in Gemini, and it's kind of know it all, have it all figured out energy in Sag. And I'm not saying that Sagittarius are people that just know it all. Like my, best friend in the world is a Sagittarius. I absolutely love Sagittarius energy, but there's just certain aspects of it when the South Node is there that we don't want to get too caught up in as a collective as we're trying to find more youthful and, curious energy. It's very Page of Swords energy with Gemini. So it's like there's got to be the curiosity intellectually so that we can take in new information and switch things up if we have to. And I think that there's major switch ups coming, and like it's almost like this spiritual truth with the sun in Pisces and square these nodes. So let's look at that square. So Friday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we get that third quarter square between the sun on the South Node, exactly conjunct. Like, talk about this, like, the moon loves the South Node, so it's going to be really comfortable. Friday's a crazy test. Like, it's going to be very comfortable in the world if you're just staying in like these same kind of beliefs and like thinking that you have your whole life figured out and not being willing to like pivot and make a change. And it's like a spiritual test here. It's interesting too that it's at the exact time it just happens to be in the 7th house with Venus in the 7th house, Neptune making these squares, and the squares of the nodes are going to be in the 4th and 10th house axis. So it's just like there is a spiritual mission, and you got to make sure that you're connected with the right people, which was what Juno and Eros was trying to show us with the square to Neptune. Like, are you in an illusion of being in the right partnerships, or are you like really in those, divine unions? This is a week where that gets brought up, and Venus is trying to absolutely, show all the beauty that can be out there, but we got to kind of figure out a way to ground that beauty. It can't just be, sloshing around everywhere. We want to bring the creativity to life. And I would say that Uranus is helping with that. But, we got to figure out a way, with that North Node in Gemini. And, just from looking at this as like if it was a natal chart, it's like there's so much emotion that can be brought from like a more cosmic, more more sort of channeled intuitive understanding of where we're at inside that we can bring out in the right connections. And I think that there's a lot of focus on that and like understanding that everybody's at this sort of breaking point, almost like a sensitive point, and to understand that and then to use it somehow to work to a better understanding of a system that's better for everybody. And it's like not easy with the square. It's a T-square, right? Especially with the moon in opposition to that North Node. So Friday's a very interesting day, and I would say that, we really do want to work hard to find compassion and love for other people in our lives and understand that we're all on some sort of mission here. And whether you realize it or not, like your soul came here to learn something. And we got to stop judging everybody for just trying to go through their life experience. And I think Pisces, wants to show that, like that there is beauty in all things because we all come from one place and we all come from one source. And we come here to live out these lives, to learn and to bring things back to that source. And you know what? We're not all going to live out the same identical life. That's not how it works. We're all different and unique. And I think that moon in the 4th house here is like, look, we all have our own belief system and our own emotions and our own feelings. How can we work that together with other people in our lives in a very compassionate manner? And how can we bring that out to the world and out to the public with new information and a new understanding? And I think that that's sort of the spiritual test that we're getting, just and using this as like a natal chart because it is that exact time. So this would be the chart of the moment. And it is a Mercury-ruled chart, right? Mercury, Jupiter in the 6th house. Like definitely analyzing the bigger picture of the routines in our life with the people of Aquarius. And trying to come together and have some sort of a same big picture or same ideal, sort of goal of how to make, things better. And we need to be of service too. So that's very interesting. So I'd say Friday is definitely the most intense day, and it's definitely a spiritual sort of check, like to make sure you're like on the destiny that's meant for you, and only you can figure that out for yourself. But it's like there's definitely changes, definitely it's mutable, T-square, so it's definitely forcing a change and a switch up. And sometimes how well we can adapt and roll with the punches and roll with the change is everything, just in our own growth. So we don't just it's hard. I know it can be hard to change, but that's where the biggest growth happens for us. Saturday, we're going to move off that exact square. We're going to have that moon get ready to come into Capricorn, which is detriment. So not that it's a terrible place, but it definitely has us, we've been looking at maybe a bigger picture emotionally, and then we're going to kind of, try and get to work to build, maybe that bigger picture, or build a way to have more of an emotional understanding with that new moon cycle that we're about to finish in Aquarius as we come into a new moon in Pisces, which is a very sensitive sort of end of cycle new moon that's coming, and it's with Neptune. So talk about sensitivity, and Venus is there. Like, this is one of the most sensitive, emotional new moon cycles that we're about to see in Pisces, and that's going to come on the 12th, 13th, depending on where you are. So we're definitely trying to figure our structure out, figure out how to build, where things are going. It is going to trine over, Sunday to Uranus, and I think that that'll be interesting. It'll give us a lot of emotional insight into maybe the sort of messages that we're coming in. I think Spirit's going to be talking directly to us, especially with that. And it's like with that Sun square the nodes, we definitely want to listen to that call. I think that call will be very helpful. And Mars, 1 degree, 32 minutes on Saturday, it's going to trine over to Chariklo. Very grace, very compassionate, very understanding of all people, understanding of all things, especially in Aquarius. So, how can we switch things up to be more understanding and act more, accordingly to what just information comes? Like, do we really have to, just hammer people? I would say that's the biggest thing I see when I'm on the internet now is everybody's just trying to one up and attack and go after another person. There's no unity in that. We're not making anything better. All we're doing is starting fights. Are we just bored? Is it actually making things better? Getting in a fight on the internet? I don't know. You guys can fight me in the comments if you disagree with that. I'll take it. But there's something about acting on a compassion, acting on grace, and making better, smarter decisions. I would say intellectual, quick decisions with Mars and Gemini too, and being able to define by the quickness, especially with the dispositor of that being in Aquarius, Mercury in Aquarius here, which isn't really aspecting a whole lot, just kind of floating through Aquarius. Coming up on aspects for sure. Let's move into Sunday and close this out. Could have just hit one day, but, cycle through the zodiac real quick. All right, we're starting to see that sun really approach to Neptune. I'm a sun Neptune in my natal chart, so I do like this energy a lot. I think it brings a lot of compassion and a lot of understanding, especially in Pisces. It definitely, sees sort of the beauty in all things. So Sun Neptune's one of the best, I would say conjunctions there is. And I'm not saying that just because I have it, but the research I've done into it, it's very compassionate, but it's still driven. So it's a good mix. Where sometimes if you get Neptune square your sun in your chart, you can be overly compassionate for no good reason. And just let people kind of walk on you. So and I'm not saying it's like that for everybody, but it can be like that. So Neptune Sun, it's very compassionate here. It's very dreamy. Definitely wants to see something, wants to see the whole picture and something better and beautiful come from it. And we do start to feel that. And then coming into next week, we get that. And then we get a new moon at 23 degrees right there. And Venus will be right up in the mix too. We can even take a look at that new moon real quick. I haven't looked at it on the chart yet, so why not? Yeah, Venus conjunct right there on Neptune. So pretty amazing new moon. Sensitive, but like what a dream. What a dream that'll be. Very interesting. So we'll get to there next week, but definitely wanted to take a look at that. That is like a pretty special new moon configuration right there. Definitely excited. But we got to remember too with Pisces, like it's an interesting new moon because it's a new moon that's sure it's starting a new 28-day cycle, but it's closing out a 12-month cycle. So it's always an interesting one when we get to Pisces and we come back into Aries, where we're trying to like close things out but start new things, but it's really that new moon in Aries where we fire on all cylinders and start those new things. That is Saturday. There we go. You know, Mars is definitely trying to creep up. It is making that exact trine to Chariklo. I would say this week has a lot of understanding of other people in it, a lot of compassion. It's definitely trying to see the best. We do have the moon conjunct Hermes at one point in the day, which is pretty beautiful in itself. It's going to trine over to Uranus, or before that, square Chiron. So Sunday's an interesting day of like making sure that, our emotional structure is sort of like understood. I think we have to understand both sides of it, with the Hermes there, very hermetic. Like, there's things in life that we want. We all have goals. We all want to reach higher. And we have to sort of like weigh out, like, are they, exciting? And do I have like a real good value there? And are they, helping me push forward and not be in some wounded place? So Sunday kind of ends with some interesting moon aspects, but it also is going to make a sextile to Venus and Nessus. So it's interesting with Nessus there. There's almost like a shadow side that we're kind of going through, whether it's with relationships or just how we express and like show ourselves. So it'll be interesting to see what shows up like in Hollywood or politics with like people, coming out. And shout out to Empress Atlantis on Twitter. She mentioned, she put out a little prediction about Nessus and the Sun and Venus, about seeing something go down, maybe, people get exposed for one thing or another. So, she might be right. I don't work with asteroids like she does, but, it could definitely happen. So shout out to her. Give her some love if you're on Twitter or even Instagram, Empress Atlantis. I think I'm going to close out with that. If you guys want the real detailed stuff, I recommend that you become a member on my website for $5 a month, because like my dailies, you remember, you saw them, like I'll go way deeper, 15 minutes into the day and just whatever comes up. And you get much more than that too. So I like doing this. I like putting it out there. It's not, I'm not really in that great of a flow with it yet. These weekly ones are kind of new to me. So I'm trying to work to make maybe those in a better way. I might start doing them live for you guys instead of recording. So maybe that'll be more interactive, more fun, and try and get that going. But if you want the dailies for all these days, in depth, I'll draw on the chart. So I'm not just putting a mouse over it. Like I break out the iPad, or I'll go out in nature and channel something cool. I always do my best channeling from outdoors. So please do subscribe, become a member. It's cheap, like 16 cents a day. And, the members that are there, they seem to really enjoy it. We have a Facebook page for the group, and we all share charts and talk about astrology and share our life. And it's a really beautiful place. So, if you're into something like that, please do become a member and join us there. I love you very much. I hope you have a great week. It's an interesting week. There's a lot of change, a lot of mutable energy. So, we're in this fixed new moon cycle with a lot of fixed energy that's moving into mutable energy. We have to be able to let go of some things. We have to be able to switch things up, change the hat. And it's like if we can get a jump this week on being able to change and pivot, that's going to be our best friend. And I would say that's the main part of the week, as well as like there's a spiritual fate train moment that's happening on Friday that's going to show you, are you connected to the environment, the right path, your own individual truth? Like Gemini is your own truth. Sag is like the cosmic, universal law truth. And I think we all kind of have that, especially with the moon there. It's like, are you bringing that in, but also realizing that everybody else is bringing that in on their own sort of level and their own sort of understanding of that truth? And I think that, I was with that moon being in the 4th house there too. Like, we all have that, our own projection of life. And I think that the more we can understand that and have compassion for other people on their journey, you're going to level up and evolve so quick spiritually from this week. And I would say that's the main message. I love you all very much. Hope you have a beautiful week. I will catch you next week, and I hope to see you on the site. All the dailies, the weekly sun and rising horoscopes there, and tarot show, and much more. Love you guys. Have a beautiful week. Peace.